Hi, I'm going to go through notes about paraphrasing with you because that's going to be an important skill as you work on your research slides. I'm not in my classroom, I am at home, so you might hear my kid or catch a sneak peek of my cat. So plagiarism and paraphrasing kind of go hand in hand, so you use paraphrasing to avoid plagiarism. You cannot just copy paste something from the internet and say that you wrote it. That is called plagiarism. It can get you in trouble. Here at school, it can cause things like failing an assignment. If you do it on a really important assignment or you do it often enough, it could even make you fail a class. We can write you up for plagiarism, so you can get detentions, suspensions, depending on the severity of the offense. So to avoid plagiarism, you need to paraphrase. So that's whenever you take something that somebody else has written and you write it into your own words instead. You can also summarize. So you can take a big piece of text and kind of shrink it down into a smaller form by just going over the key points. So I have this picture here, keep calm and carry on can be turned into stay relaxed and keep going. So using different words to say the same thing. An example, so if the original text is Willy Wonka was famous for his delicious candy, children and adults love to eat it. You can switch it to Willy Wonka was known throughout the world. That would be famous because people, you can summarize children and adults as people, enjoyed eating the tasty candy. So delicious for tasty. So here are the steps that we'll be following. You want to read the text, and then most importantly, you want to get the text away from you. So a lot of kids will try to paraphrase like side by side. So they'll put the original text here, and then they try to write right beside it. More often than not, what happens then is you try to copy the text. So then you'll just keep the same sentence structure, and you'll just plop in like one new word here or there. That is not paraphrasing. Your text really needs to be fundamentally different from the original. The best way to do that is just to make sure that you don't even have the original near you whenever you're writing your paraphrase. So a good way to do that instead is after you've read the text, just try to explain it out loud. Or if you're sitting in class and you can't talk out loud, kind of explain in your head, what do I think this is about? And then you want to write down, or in our case, type the explanation. And that doesn't have to be super clean or proofread. So you could even just kind of like talk to yourself through typing. So this is kind of what I think it's about. And then you can go back and edit it later. Most importantly is step number 5. You want to go back to the original text and make sure that you've gotten all of your facts right. So especially with your research project for your bands, there might be dates or names that you want to make sure that you've spelled correctly. So you want to go back and check it. And then I like to do something called the Google test, which is where I take pieces of what I've written and put it into Google, and the original text should not come up. Sometimes kids, when they've written something that's so close to the original, it'll show up on Google. So you can do that in step 5 too, just to check yourself. So I'm going to show you a couple examples here. Can I shrink my window? Nope, it's as small as it'll go. So I'm going to show you some of my examples. So I'll put myself there. I'm going to peek from the corner. So my Barbara Ann one I pulled from Wikipedia, which I'm going to let you do as well. So Barbara Ann is a song written by Fred Fassert that was first recorded by the Regions as Barbara Ann. Their version was released in 1961, and then a little bit further it says the most famous cover version. So I took all of that and I condensed it down to this line here. Barbara Ann's actually a cover of a song originally sung by the Regions in 1961. So I simplified it, and then you'll note that that's not the first thing that I wrote. I decided to go with this part first instead. So instead of writing, they performed original material that reflected a Southern California youth culture of surfing, cars, and romance. I condensed that down to their surf rock band. So the Southern California youth culture of surfing kind of tells me that they are a surf rock band, so I decided to word it that way instead. And then here, after it says this was a cover version, it says that it was released in 1965 by the Beach Boys. So I said the Beach Boys released their version in 1965. So I've taken 2 very long and technical paragraphs and I've condensed them down to just 3 sentences. And if I would put this into Google, there's no chance that this would come up. My second one about my Taking Back Sunday song. So some things you can't change. So Tell All Your Friends is the name of the album, so you can't change it to like share things with your amigos. You can't change the wording there because that's the name of the album, so it needs to stay. Instead of saying it's the debut studio album, I turned it into the first full album. And then I made sure that I got the lead singer's name right, so I made sure I spelled it correctly. But then a lot of this other stuff here, I just knew because I'm a fan of the band. So I knew that they were an emo rock band. It was popular in the early 2000s. I checked myself on that because it's been 20 years. And here it says that this album was released in 2002, so that's right. The band is known for dramatic lyrics. I know that because, again, I'm a fan of the band. So you can put your own knowledge into the band as well. Same thing here. I'm like a Hamilton super fan. I've watched it way too many times and listened to the soundtrack too many times too. So I knew all of this already. I could tell you the story of this song. I can tell you the background, what it's about. So I didn't need to look up what this song was about. I just, explained it. But I wanted to look at how he developed the song, what made him write it, see if there's any cool like background stories. And I found this tweet where Lin-Manuel Miranda, who wrote the song, somebody asked him, how old was your son when you wrote Dear Theodosia? As a mom, that song has ruined many a perfectly done smoky eye because it just makes you cry. And he says he was non-existent. I wrote it the week we adopted our dog. So he was inspired to write this beautiful song about fathers and sons and fathers and daughters by adopting a dog. So these are your steps. You're going to read the passage. Without looking at the passage, you'll write a list of what you remember. You'll write the paraphrase off of your list without looking back at the original. So don't write them side by side. And check the passage to see if you missed anything, and then see if it would pass a Google test. If you took pieces of what you've written and you plugged them into Google, would the source that you worked off of come back up? I'm going to also walk you through some examples, but I'm going to upload that in a different video. So these are your notes, and then you can watch the examples. I'm actually going to practice doing 2 different paraphrases live so that you can see how it works going from researching to actually writing the paraphrase.